The Governing Council today decided to lower the deposit facility rate, the rate through which we steer the monetary policy stance, by 25 basis points. Based on our updated assessment of the inflation outlook, the dynamics of underlying inflation, and the strength of monetary policy transmission, it is now appropriate to take another step in moderating the degree of monetary policy restriction. Recent inflation data have come in broadly as expected, and the latest ECB staff projections confirm the previous inflation outlook. Staff see headline inflation averaging 2.5% in 24, 2.2% in 25, and 1.9% in 26, as in the June projections. Inflation is expected to rise again in the latter part of this year, partly because previous sharp falls in energy prices will drop out of the annual rates. Inflation should then decline towards our target over the second half of next year. We are determined to ensure that inflation returns to our 2% medium-term target in a timely manner. We will keep policy rates sufficiently restrictive for as long as necessary to achieve this aim. We will continue to follow a data-dependent and meeting-by-meeting approach to determining the appropriate level and duration of restriction. In particular, our interest rate decisions will be based on our assessment of inflation outlook in light of the incoming economic and financial data, the dynamics of underlying inflation, and the strength of monetary policy transmission. We are not pre-committing to a particular rate path. As announced on March 13, 2024, some changes to the operational framework for implementing monetary policy will take effect from 18th of September. In particular, the spread between the interest rate on the main refinancing operations and the deposit facility rate will be set at 15 basis points. The spread between the rate on the marginal lending facility and the rate on the main refinancing operations will remain unchanged at 25 basis points. The economy grew by 0.2% in the second quarter after 0.3% in the first quarter, falling short of the latest staff projections. Growth stemmed mainly from net exports and government spending. Private domestic demand weakened as households consumed less, firms cut down business investment, and housing investment dropped. While services supported growth, industry and construction contributed negatively. According to survey indicators, the recovery is continuing to face some headwinds. Fiscal and structural policies should be aimed at making the economy more productive and competitive, which would help to raise the potential growth and reduce price pressures in the medium term. Mario Draghi's report on the future of European competitiveness and Enrico Letta's report on empowering the single market stress the urgent need for reform and provide concrete proposals to make this happen. Implementing the EU's revised economic governance framework fully, transparently, and without delay will help governments bring down budget deficits and debt ratios on a sustained basis. Governments should now make a strong start in the direction of their medium-term plans for fiscal and structural policies. Looking at inflation now. According to Eurostat's flash estimate, annual inflation dropped to 2.2% in August from 2.6% in July. Energy prices fell at an annual rate of 3%, after an increase of 1.2% in previous month. Food price inflation went up slightly to 2.4% in August. Goods inflation and services inflation moved in opposite directions. Goods inflation declined to 0.4% from 0.7% in July, while services inflation rose to 4.2% from 4%. The disinflation process should be supported by receding labor cost pressures and the past monetary policy tightening gradually feeding through to consumer prices. Most measures of longer-term inflation expectations stand at around 2%, and the market-based measures have fallen closer to that level since our July meeting. Inflation could turn out higher than anticipated if wages or profits increase by more than expected. Upside risks to inflation also stem from the heightened geopolitical tensions, which could push energy prices and freight costs higher in the near term and disrupt global trade. Moreover, extreme weather events and the unfolding climate crisis more broadly could drive up food prices. By contrast, inflation may surprise on the downside if monetary policy dampens demand more than expected, or if the economic environment in the rest of the world worsens unexpectedly. The Governing Council today decided to lower the deposit facility rate by 25 basis points. We are determined to ensure that inflation returns to our 2% medium-term target in a timely manner. We will keep policy rates sufficiently restrictive for as long as necessary to achieve this aim. We will continue to follow a data-dependent and meeting-by-meeting approach to determining the appropriate level and duration of restrictions.